whenever you're vulnerable, you're funny. But I also think whenever you're vulnerable, you're interesting.
Yeah, it was always funny, man. Fucking hey, of course. Like, do you think this doesn't come naturally?
Yeah.
Oh, huge.
Like, what do you eat while you're like touring?
Nothing but meal deals. Like £3.50, man. It's I actually quite like. That's the good bit of the tour, man. The meal deals. Yeah, like me and Mikey's dates, our first few dates, we would like just sit around the park eating meal deals. God. Oh man, these questions really make me go, God, I'm such a fucking loser.
You do yoga?
Yeah, I do yoga and I do a bit of pre-gig dancing. I have to do a bit of pre-gig dancing as well, man. Usually put on some disco music before a gig because I need to basically just feel a bit silly about things.
My favourite joke is about perception, right? Basically, me, my partner, and my best good friend Paul were in a museum together, and we went up to this part of the museum that had no signs, but it just had like a big pile of shoes, and my partner was like, "Oh God, that's fascinating. What do you think it means?" And I was like, well, whenever I see a big pile of shoes, I immediately start feeling sad because it makes me think of the Holocaust. Because I saw it in a book years ago and the images stuck with me. And my best good friend Paul went, really? Whenever I see a big pile of shoes, I just think of a bouncy castle. I love that way of looking at things. Like, Paul, as I said, right, he's my best good friend, but he's also my show director, right? So me and Paul write jokes together. And since I'm writing jokes with my best friend, sometimes the jokes get really personal, and I'll tell them to an audience, and audiences will look at me and be like, "Are you okay?" But one thing Paul's taught me is no matter how sad or bleak something is, if you put happy music over it, people don't tend to think about the bleakness. They tend to go, "Oh, well, it sounds happy, so I'll try and look on the bright side." So here's all my most personal jokes to this. 2 weeks into lockdown, I thought I'm going to jump out of the window. Then I realised I couldn't because I'd already been out twice that day. I said to my mum about nearly jumping out of a window, and my mum said, "Oh God, I nearly committed suicide once. I nearly hugged myself, but I thought I don't want to be seen dead of a double chin." So I was on a plane on my way down to a funeral, and when I was on the plane I started getting emotional and I was crying, and this lovely old lady 3 people away from me went, "Are you alright, son? You seem upset. Would you like my travel pillow?" And I just looked over at her with tears trickling down my cheeks, and I went, "Don't worry, just wait till I'm asleep and put the pillow over my face." So I started seeing my therapist a few years ago because my ex was cheating on me, and I wasn't handling being cheated on very well. I was wanking over it. And my therapist went, "You're masturbating over your insecurity. You're so afraid of feeling insecure that you're wanking over it." And I said, "Well, thank God I'm not scared of children." According to my therapist, when you're in a relationship, you reenact your childhood. Had to break it to my partner. We're going to be having a threesome with my uncle. So I was in an airport. I was in Abu Dhabi airport, and I was on my way out of the airport. And when I was on my way out of Abu Dhabi airport, a security guard pointed at me and went, You come here. Obviously not in my accent. In the Abu Dhabi accent. I'm not going to do the Abu Dhabi accent. I've got two rules when it comes to doing voices, right? I love impersonating people, but I don't do it if someone's died and I want to remember their real voice rather than my impersonation of it. And I don't do it if it's racist. And I think if I did the Abu Dhabi accent, it would change the ambience of the gig. Also, we don't really know that much about Abu Dhabi. Like, all we know is it's a corrupt regime and the difference between rich and poor is huge. So I'll just make him English. So the Abu Dhabi security guard, when you come here. Hop along, oh boy, gonna search your bags, don't mind if I do. Oh. And he opened up my suitcase and he took out a bottle of CBD oil. CBD oil, if you don't know, part of a marijuana plant, but it's not the fun bit, so it's legal in the UK. The way they see it in Abu Dhabi is very different, because he went, oh dear, drugs. And I couldn't deny it, right? Because the label had a picture of a dog wearing sunglasses. And I'm at this point terrified because not one thing I knew about Abu Dhabi, they're not really known for the leniency, right? And the other thing I thought was I was feeling embarrassed because I was like, of all the things to go to jail for in Abu Dhabi, CBD oil? So uncool. I mean, what made it worse is it was vape liquid. Double uncool. Like, I smoke e-cigarettes and even I think I'm a fanny. I'd rather get 40 years in prison in Abu Dhabi for smoking cigarettes, because cigarettes are cool, right? I know it's not popular opinion, but I think, because you can chat somebody out of a cigarette, you know what I mean? You can be like, hey, have you got a lighter? Like, what can you do with an e-cigarette? Do you like the smell of custard? When the Abu Dhabi security guard put the bottle of CBD aside, I'm now thinking, uh-oh, what else is in my suitcase here that's illegal? Because I know that that's illegal. I know that I'm illegal. It's the first time in my life I've ever been worried that I packed a twink. I love that. You went, what's a twink? I'm sorry for pointing that out. It was so funny, I love it. Oh, don't worry, you'll be very well educated by the end of this show. He put the toy bottle aside, right? And then the Abu Dhabi security guard, right, he took out my prep pills from my suitcase, right? And he went, oh, dearie, dearie me. Prep pills, if you don't know, right, I love telling straight people about prep pills. It's so much fun. If you don't know what prep pills are pills that you can take that stop you from contracting HIV. I love telling straight people, right, because when you tell them, they look at you in a kind of, are you telling me the gays defeated God? It's amazing. You feel so arrogant during sex. A couple of pills before, looking at the scene and going, yeah, God, your else isn't working on us anymore. Sorry, Satan, we'll be late. All you need to do is you take 2 pills 1 hour before sex, which is a long time to wait in the park, but we're working on that. And most people, it's so odd that people don't know about it, because I'm like, it's such a fucking amazing thing that scientists have done, right? But most of my straight mates don't know much about HIV stuff, well, mainly because they only watch it in films, like It's a Sin, or they know it from Philadelphia. That's such a brilliant film. It's beautiful, and it's really good. If you've not seen it, watch Philadelphia. It's got Tom Hanks in it, so you know it's good. It's an American court drama, so you know it's good as well. Like, because American courts are fucking cool. The UK courts are such a letdown, man. What, Americans make lawyers look cool, and in the UK it's just not the case. Americans portray their lawyers that they've got like cowboy hats, snazzy suits, going up to the jury, being like,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I think we're going to have to listen to the judge on this one. Above all, though, we got to listen to Jesus.
or you can get that young, aggressive lawyer being like, hey, Your Honor, I object. Yeah. And they do that teeth thing Americans do. Yeah. Like, American teeth are so straight and white, you'd swear their mouth was a Brexit voter. Yeah. And our lawyers, they don't wear snazzy suits, right? They wear gowns, and they don't even say, Your Honour. They say, My Lord. Which makes every crime in UK court sound as if it was just a little bit naughty. All of them, oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord, he murdered everybody. I don't know what we're going to do with him, my lord. May I approach the bench? My lord, if I was you, I'd find the defendant sexy. Sentence him to 10 minutes inside me. Oh, don't worry, you'll only serve 5. Especially for bad behaviour. Yeah, we don't tend to be very good at it though. The drama, the courtroom drama stuff. But yeah, most of my mates knew about Philadelphia and that's it. And I told them about prep pills. They're like, wow, prep pills are amazing. And prep pills are amazing. And I couldn't understand why they would have an issue with it at Abu Dhabi security. So I said, why are you taking my prep pills? And the Abu Dhabi security guard was like, oh, HIV is illegal in Abu Dhabi. Thinking, like, first of all, it's like you're thinking, well, this is to prevent you from contracting it, so prevent you from. But also, I'm thinking, HIV is illegal. It's like, who's smuggling AIDS? If there's one thing you just wouldn't hide up your bum. And if you're going to have a dumb law like that, surely you'd make the prevention of committing the crime legal. But so either way, you're screwed in Abu Dhabi when it comes to that. But I didn't want to argue this with him because, bear in mind, I'm a visitor there, and also I'm currently facing drug offences. And I don't want to argue with the guy because he might be able to not give me 30 years, maybe 25, right? So I said, oh, fair enough, I'm really sorry I did that. I'm sorry I brought that in. I didn't know that was illegal. And he goes, go into that room over there. So I went into the room over there, and it was a big, long room with lots of different cubicles in it, but none of the cubicles had toilets in them. Just handprints on the wall. You had exactly the same thought that I had, the same perception that I had in that situation. Because if you go into a room and there's painted handprints on the wall, there's only 2 places you can be. Either a bum search area or a nursery. Thank you very much for laughing at that joke. I get really worried about that joke before I say it, because the first time I said that joke out loud was to my partner, and his reaction was, what kind of fucked up nursery did you go to? But we've all had the same experience, yeah? Of at nursery, you put your hand in the paint and then you put it on the wall, yeah? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Oh God, thank God, I'm not mental. Being like, no. I don't know why he. What's it called? Maybe it's because he's posh. You're like, oh no, we didn't do that in my nursery. No, we did watercolour. It was fantastic. You can probably tell the difference of our accents because I come from Glasgow and he comes from Money. But yeah, by the way, but the thing is, that's the thing. I know I'm gigging in London and you know this, but all relationships are exactly the same, right? I've known gay or straight, there's always a dynamic, right? Me and my partner have got it, and it's, you know, there's always one of you in the relationship that's changing aspects of your personality in order to keep the other one around. And then you've got the other person who has no idea that you're doing this. I'm going to leave that to you to figure out which one you are. Come on, it's true, right? We've all been walking through a farmer's market with our partner going, oh God, I miss cocaine. IKEA after this? Oh, I love IKEA. I miss my friends.
But I didn't do any gigs in Glasgow until like 2012 or something like that, 2013. I was always nervous about doing gigs at home because I actually, the first few years of doing comedy, I hadn't come out to people yet and stuff as well. So
Did you come out on stage though before you came out to people?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's easier to, what's it called? At least on stage you get to be the confident you. So then, it meant that talking about like weird personal shit on stage that I hadn't told anybody else, I felt having a microphone in front of me felt like it was the protection I needed.
Hold on, do you need a new microphone?
Glasgow's the best place to get. For me personally as well, because of the accent thing, I don't have to change any way I'm talking, even though my accent's not particularly thick. I don't have to change any rhythm of which I'm talking. But also the audience just tends to be the best level of rowdy to being behaved.
But sometimes I'll do gigs, right, and I've done quite a few, which they will not be able to comprehend that a gay relationship can have the same dynamic as a straight one. They'll be like, what? A man and a man being the same as a man and a woman? No. Which one of you stays in the kitchen all day? Huh? Few of those gigs, right, spring to mind, but one in particular, right, because it was, at the time, probably the worst gig I'd ever done. It was about 7 years ago, but it ended up being the best gig I've ever done, right, because I lost all my confidence after it, and I was going to give up comedy, and my agent was like, before you give up comedy, why don't you speak to that nice Irish director loads of people use? And that's how I met my best good friend Paul, because he started directing my shows, and then we became best friends from there. So weirdly, I'm really happy I did a horrendous gig, because I got my best friend out of it. But it was a gig in Halifax in Northern England land, and it was a British Legion gig. Good. You could all book comedy better than the person that booked for that gig. I have no idea why they thought I would be a good shout for that one, right? And I was on stage, right? And I was going all right. And then I started talking about my boyfriend at the time, but I didn't even say, like, anything. It was just kind of relationships jokes. It wasn't anything particularly bummy. And immediately they stopped laughing and just didn't make any noise, almost like I better not laugh. Because if I laugh, people are going to start thinking I'm gay as well. So since he wasn't laughing, I thought I'll have to change my tactic here. And I pointed at a guy in the front row and went, "You're right, mate, what's your name?" He went, "Mike." And I went, "Hiya, Mike, what do you do?" And he goes, "I'm in the Navy." And when he said that, I'm thinking, I better not say the joke I was going to say originally to that. I'll try and move away from it. It was almost like a comedian equivalent of the floor is lava. It's got so many traps around. And I was like, "Wow, Mike, that's a really interesting job. What made you get into that?" And he goes, "Well, my dad was in the Navy." And I was like, "Oh, great, cool. And what did your other dad work as?" Thanks, you right? Thanks. Because I got fuck all that night. The only laugh was the gremlin in my brain going.
Like, why are you throwing the gremlins?
Because he said every single tattoo from a Scottish comic was shit. You can't say that. So good.
That is good. Close up.
It's cute.
Why do you love gremlins?
I don't know. It's weird. I've actually noticed this weird thing of every single thing I love tends to be green. So Gremlins, The Mask, and Celtic. My first gig, I absolutely fucking bombed, man. I was like, it was, because I used to want to be like the most offensive comic. So I tried to be as offensive as possible, and these old people in the pub were not having it. That would be my goofiest is when they're staring at me like I'm a fucking prick. And I'm like, yeah.
After the gig, right, me and the female act left, right? There was a female act on as well. She didn't have a good gig. It tends to be the same thing. If people don't like women, they don't like gay men. You know what I mean? Homophobia, I always think there's a lot of it that is actually just campophobia. It's a fear of femininity. It's like, because you never ever see a homophobe that's a feminist. You know what I mean? You never go, "Oh, I can't stand gay people, but women should be treated with respect." So I waited for her. We walked out after the show, and then Mike was waiting for us to give us some feedback, right? And Mike came up to me afterwards, and he went up to me and he was like, "Oh, he was little, that's why I'm doing that." And he was like, "Listen, mate," and he did, that thing, right? Overcompensation of masculine energy from the neck area, just like, why does nobody take my opinion seriously? People just keep throwing bread at me. It's like, "Listen, mate, I don't mind the gays." And I'm thinking, yeah, of course you don't. With your head bob, and you'd be welcome in my community. And he goes, "But why do you have to tell us that you're gay, mate? Why are you telling us that you're gay? It's fucking boring, right?" And it was basically along those lines, because boring was repeated about 4 or 5 times, right? And I was thinking, I'm not enjoying this conversation in particular, and it's not like I'm ever going to change this guy's mind, so I thought, you know what? I'll just scare him. And I think, as a Glaswegian, right, we've all got a face switch we can do. And that's what I did on him, right? I went, "Listen, mate, right, I'm not telling you that I'm gay, I'm warning you." The feedback was over pretty pronto at that point. And you've probably had the same thing happen yourself, though, right? You know when you're brave in the moment and then afterwards you start getting scared? So that's what happened, right? I was brave enough at the time, and then afterwards I was ruminating about what he'd said, and I was thinking, "Oh, maybe I am boring. Maybe I am shit." And that's when I started losing all my confidence. But as I say, that's when I got to meet my best good friend Paul. So it's a really good thing that it happened. Also, the thing is, I don't know if you work with your best friend. The problem is with working with any friend is you don't tend to get much work done. Like, me and Paul will start writing jokes together, and then one of us will do like a Simpsons quote, and the rest of the day is Simpsons quotes to each other, and that's like one of our in jokes. Like we always put Simpsons references in my shows. Like he's directed all of them, and we always put little Simpsons jokes in, even if the audience don't find them funny. But it's because we have to listen to the show back, and we got to go, that's our joke. Tom Hanks jokes as well, because we both love Tom Hanks, because we're both human. I don't know, he's almost like a brother, like, but that kind of like daft brother thing. First time I met him, I had to walk him to the hospital because he had appendicitis. And I had to ask him out on a friend date as well, because we were working together. I said to him, I was like, oh, I was supposed to go on a date with a guy to the Elvis exhibition. And I was like, but you said you like Elvis, and the guy's cancelled on me. Do you want to go with me? And he was like, oh, like what's it called? Us hang out. I was like, he's like, yeah, that sounds great. And I was like, oh, cool, man. And I was a bit like, does this mean we're friends? And I've got a really weird fucking way of telling that I love someone. It's fucking odd, man. If I sing about that person, like if I'm singing in the shower and I end up singing about them in a stupid voice, that means I love them. That's the kind of thing. And I had to think, I told him this, and he was like, that's weird. And then I was like, oh, by the way, I sang about you. But it either goes from creepy to trying too hard. It's because I'll try way too hard on dates that I'll do stupid voices to try and make them laugh. And I'll be like, hey, when I met to my house with Kermit the Frog, it'd be really hot. Oh, yeah. Oh, and Miss Piggy, you'd be there as well. Oh, Miss Piggy will be there. She gets right up, which is hard. Do you know the Muffin Man? On a date, though, a guy told me he was a massive Lord of the Rings fan, right? And when he told me that, I was like, I'll save Gollum for dessert. And when he said, Larry, I've got to go and get my taxi, instead of going, oh, before you go and get your taxi, if you love Lord of the Rings, you'll probably love Gollum, like Smeagol. And instead of doing that, though, because that would have been quite cringy, I panicked he was leaving, so I grabbed his hand and led him to his taxi as Gollum. So the last thing he can remember of me, because he blocked me straight after this happened, was me going, come with me, master. Stupid fat hobbit, you think I'm gonna taxi over you? We don't want master to leave us. Precious master, don't abandon your Smeagol. And halfway through doing it, I looked up at him and I thought, no, he's not finding this funny. At all. I thought it's going to be weirder if I stop halfway through. Like, too much of a change. Master, please don't leave. No. Nice meeting you, man. Let's do this again sometime. No, it's alright. No worries at all. You go pee. Master, please don't leave. No. No, Master, please. Please. Stupid fat hobbit. Go to the bathroom in order to use the ring. Double meaning on the word ring. I didn't even appreciate how fucking weird my face was as well until about halfway through my stand-up. I fucking adore the mask, man. It was the first film that basically, first comedy film I fell in love with, man. I absolutely adore it. I'm hoping that I'll do my standard tactic of take something that works, dig myself a hole, and hope I can come out of the hole with some gold. But a lot of the time, there's just a dead body down there. And it's really weird telling people about in-jokes with your friends, because usually when you tell someone an in-joke of you and your friends have, they kind of look at you like, hey, yeah, whatever. But in-jokes are the best type of jokes, right? Because in-jokes are the only type of joke that you can have with someone, and they're special for you, and also they help build a friendship or a relationship with that person. And even comedians, right, no matter how experienced a comedian, how funny they are, they can never do as good an in-joke as you can have with your best friend. And I find that really weird, right? Also, comedians try and do it, right? The one example of a comedian trying to do an in-joke is a thing called a callback, right? If you don't know what a callback is, right, basically, what a comedian will do is they'll mention something earlier in the show and then later call back to it with a joke. And you guys, the audience, right, and that's what we call you in the business, by the way, are supposed to hear this in-joke and be like, oh my lord. Thank you. Thank you. I see, one thing me and Paul have always wanted to do is a call forward. Basically the opposite of a callback. The funny bit comes first, but it makes no sense. And then later you get context, just so the audience get to go, why did you make it difficult for yourself? Yeah, we never managed it, man. It was, it's also, I think it's just a play on perception, really fun. I realise how odd it is me telling you about me and my best friends in-jokes, but the only time it's easy, I've noticed, to tell someone an in-joke and for you not to get the stare of, why are you telling me this, is when it's a nickname for someone. Because when you say someone's nickname, you get to go, they're called this because of this, so you get to do, here's the joke, right? Is that a joke structure? Like, I mean, I've got nicknames. My name's Larry, which is actually a nickname because my real name is Lawrence. And I know, that's exactly why I don't call myself Lawrence, because I think, oh, God, I don't want to call myself, I don't want people knowing I'm gay before I get on the stage. And I told my pals this, and now they all call me Gary, short for Gay Larry. Actually, my favourite nickname is my mate Rachel. She gets called Doorbell because she's got no knockers. I think it was the first time we did a Tom Hanks joke together. I used to have all these like moles all over me, and then I used to say about how if I lifted my shirt I looked like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia when he's in the courtroom and he's got all those lesions all over him. And I said if I wanted to get them removed, because if I got them removed though, I'd have all these holes all over me and I would look like the support actor for Tom Hanks in Apollo 13. What's their name? The Moon. And we found that joke funny because it makes Tom Hanks sound as if he's even more famous than the Moon. Didn't get a laugh once, apart from an Irish cackle at the back of the room, which was Paul finding it funny how no one else found it funny apart from me and him. Me and my partner, we don't do nicknames, we just do arguments. And like one of them was, I got in trouble because I farted when we were in bed. And before you think I'm a monster, I had the cover up. Cover was up, scooched my bum out the side and was wafting it away. And he was going, Larry, are you don't. And I was Larry. He always does that whenever he's given instructions. I bought him Viagra for Christmas just to stiffen his wrist. Larry. He's calm, not because he's gay, but you know when someone's posh and they just use different movements than normal people do, like, oh, no, don't. Because, Larry, are you farting over there? And I was like, aye, but don't worry about it, it's not under the covers. He goes, no, Larry, that's disgusting. If you're going to fart in the corner. Over there. And I was like, are you mental? Can any of you imagine anything more terrifying than waking up in the middle of the night and just seeing your partner just standing in the corner. Just farting, but still staring at you. I'm doing this because of how much I love you, darling. I mean, you'd have to face them, right? You couldn't do it that way. I mean, that'd be absolutely wild. It'd be like that scene from the Blair Witch Project. You definitely have to face them. I think the only problem with facing, though, is years later, that corner of the room would look like a smoker's wallpaper. Although, even though we've gone out for 2 years, though, like I've never found my boyfriend more attractive than I find him now. Well, because we broke up a few months ago and now he's unattainable. He hates me. That's hot. No, it's that thing about breakups are weird, man, right? Because I think it's one of the only times that your brain and your heart have an argument, right? Because you can't think logically, right? Because your brain will be like, okay, guys, we need to figure out what went wrong in this relationship, and we need to figure out how it never happens again. Because we've got to keep ourselves safe, guys, yeah? And your heart is like, oh my God, whatever, brain, I'm broken again. And your dick overhears them talking. And every man's dick is a gangster. No matter how low the confidence of the guy, the dick is still fucking like, hey, Balls, come and listen to this shit. Okay, what I heard is they've broken up, alright? That must mean our ex-boyfriend now is having sex with other people. That sounds hot. Is there any questions? I'm going to talk about cuckolding now. Are you giving me a gift? I was about to talk about cuckolding and you've given me a gift. That's so weird. Thank you, mate. Unless this is a video camera, this might be like, oh, I'm going to watch you leave, baby. Rejection is my turn on. Mate, thank you so much, mate. Thank you. How are you? You all right? Thank you so much. Can I open this at the end? Is that all right? Cool. Yeah, cool. And I promised your mum I'd come and... What's it called? Do you want me to open it right now on stage? Okay, cool. After I finish talking about cuckolding. Everyone's now probably going, what's in the bag? It might be a horse's head, who knows? Don't trust it, Larry. Oh, mate, thank you very much. This is so odd. I've never had a birthday in front of this many people. It's not my birthday. And but thank you. We should have talked about breaking up. And oh, thank you so much, mate. It's a dinosaur. Thank you, mate. I'm now totally over my breakup. I'll take him everywhere. Thank you so much. It's a puppet. Oh, right. Okay. I'm definitely over my breakup now. It's not big enough. Thank you, mate. This is maybe you're now witnessing a change of career. This is so weird. Thank you so much, mate. I love it. Thank you so much. Right, what's it called? I'm going to put him in the bag. And but thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you after the show. Was it? Yeah. Okay, as I promised. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, mate. And oh, you got that. Thank you, bro. Cheers, bro. Thank you so much. Thank you, mate. Man, thank you so much. So, cuckolding. And he's back. Come on, sir. Whoa, mate, yeah. That was subtle, yeah, man. It's fucking good, man. I love it. As soon as I mentioned cuckolding, right, I'm going to get back in my seat. I've got my chair as well in the corner of the room. And two different corners. And what's so funny is some of you know what cuckolding is and other people going, oh, he's got a hobby. What's that all about? Cuckolding, if you don't know, cover your ears at this bit. And Was that you don't know what cuckolding is? Okay. Oh, you want to cover your ears? Okay. Okay. And no, it's fine. It's all made up anyway. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. And cuckolding is the fucking tension in this room, by the way. Would it be easier if I got the puppet to tell you what cuckolding? All right, fuck's sake. Okay. Thanks, Miz. Oh, well, my next tour, I'm just going to have him on stage. We know who you're here to see. Right. Tomorrow, you might need to remind me that this gig happened. I've got a funny feeling I'm going to be like, yeah, that was an odd gig. Actually, you could play a massive trick on me. I'd be like, oh, that was a fun gig last night. And people could be like, there never was a gig last night, Larry. Sometimes on a full moon, you can still see the shape of a dinosaur talking about cuckolding. So... To explain cuckolding, we should really have another dinosaur. And another one as well. Cuckolding. Cuckolding is when you find it hot your partner having sex with somebody else. It's quite an odd thing to find attractive because you're literally watching the worst case scenario pan out in front of you and you're just wanking to it. It's quite a common theme from my life. And it's usually why I spend the first 5 minutes of a funeral in the toilet. Whoa, that was too far. Way too far. God almighty, man, no. I'm gonna try and do the... Okay, you want... Explain what cuckolding is. Thank you, Izzy. But I'm seeing a therapist about it, and yeah, she's blunt. She's like, you know what your problem is? You're not feeling your feelings. You're just feeling insecurity, and you're masturbating to cover up the insecurity. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Everybody wins. Because she's saying that I'm basically avoiding my real feelings and I'm disassociating. I think disassociation is great, right? Because first of all, you can either wank or you can joke about feelings. That's what I usually do, joking. And she was like, no joking about your feelings, Larry. You gotta feel them. And she's Northern Irish, by the way. I know it's not a great Northern Irish accent. And it's just weird having a Northern Irish therapist because I'm having to tell a Northern Irish person about my troubles. I'm working on it. After the breakup, I was gonna do the thing I usually do. I was like, I'm gonna go overseas. That's what I always do. In a breakup, I go overseas, and you know that I'm gonna go overseas. I'm gonna reinvent myself over there, make a couple of new friends, and then come back with the exact same problems, but I've got a tan. So I win. And my therapist was like, no, you're not allowed to leave the country. You have to stay here and fight with me. No, you have to stay here. You have to stay here, Larry, and feel your feelings. Don't worry, your time will come and so will mine. Because I wanted to go to America, right? That's where I went on my last breakup. I went to America because with a Scottish accent, they make you feel special. And I went to do Pilates, right? I was doing Pilates every day when I was there because I thought I'll get fit. And the second day I was there at the Pilates studio, a lady behind the reception came out to me physically, and she was like, "Hey Larry, thanks for coming in again today. Ooh, 5 minutes early, second day in a row. Good job. I have a query." And I was like, "You're not allowed to call me that anymore." She was like, "I have a query. The ladies in the class before you heard that there's a Scottish guy coming in again today, and they've freaked out."
Would you mind saying hi to them? They're of an older generation and they've never met someone from Scotland before. They're actually so excited they've missed the bus to the old people's home just to say hi.
And my head and my heart are having another argument at this point because my heart is going, oh, I love old people. That's so sweet. And my brain is going, fuck. I've got to represent Scotland here. I don't think I'm the Scotland that these old ladies are after. They don't want train spot in Scotland. They want groundskeeper Willie, Scotland. So I went, oh yeah, I'd love to meet these ladies, right? And the lady behind the ship was like,
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Okay, just wait there. I'm gonna go grab my camera, thanks.
and she just glided out of the way. And I just saw like 8 old ladies waiting to talk to me. And I went, hello. It's like a sim, like shno. And when I says hello, right, they all turned into, like, you know in Toy Story, the wee green aliens? Because when I says hello, they all went, oh. Stranger from the outside, tell us about your planet. Yeah, I think I would have loved to have gone to America and maybe even not to get in a relationship, just to Pilates ladies. It'd be nice to see them again. And oh yeah, by the way, when I said Groundskeeper Willie is my favourite Simpsons character, and Toy Story with the wee green aliens, Toy Story is my favourite Tom Hanks film. I'm just letting you know where all the in-jokes are. Because me and Paul used to obviously not point them out to people, and I thought, this year I'll point them out to you. And although that his Simpsons character favourite one is Disco Stew, because I don't know if you know much about the Simpsons, but Disco Stew doesn't advertise. And Paul loves that because Paul is an amazing director, and he's directed so many comedians, and he's never taken credit for any of his work. And I was like, you know what, this year I'm going to make you take all the credit, Paul. There's nothing more scary than telling a joke that you think this is not going to work. And when that instinct came in, he almost would play over that, and in your head you think, no, Paul said it worked, it has to fucking work. Paul always gets it right.
She's very aggressive though. She hits herself in the head when I'm not making any sense. She goes, for God's sake, Larry, stick to one story at a time. I went, did you just hit yourself in the head? And she went, I only hit myself because I'm not allowed to hit you.
Because you dramatise everything. And then when I actually hear their voice after I've been impersonating them, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, you don't really sound that much like my impersonation of you. But I thought it'd be funnier if I gave you this quirk and this quirk. And it's always that annoying thing of when you do stand-up, you begin to lose a bit of reality because you try and make everything funnier. So some of the funny stories I've done on stage, I can't remember what the real story was.
So anyway, so when I was in Abu Dhabi, sorry everybody, I get easily distracted. I've got ADHD. I was diagnosed this year via Facebook status. Well, actually, I don't even know if it is ADHD, right? Because my ex said to me that I should get an autism test. And I know, I was like, an autism test? I was like, no, I'm going to get 2 autism tests because I like even numbers, remember? Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. I don't think I've got ADHD. I've got too much in my mind, man. I've got too much to concentrate on when I'm on stage. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like I'm making this all up as I go along. You know? I'm not even gay. What? I know. I'm not Scottish either. I'm farting in the corner. I've never done that. I live in a lighthouse. Thank you. It's a lighthouse is round. Okay, sorry. Okay, Abu Dhabi. Sorry about that. It's my community's affliction. The ADHD community. Not the LGBT community. Oh, fucking hell, I'm riddled.
What are you, Larry? Oh, I'm ADHD LGBT. So I identify as an eye exam.
Loads of people are getting diagnosed now with autism and ADHD and stuff. Like, well, have you seen it? Well, usually it's via TikTok. Because if you've not seen these videos, there's videos on TikTok of people dancing next to symptoms of serious conditions, and you have to decide if you've got it, right? And it's 60 seconds, and the symptoms are very vague.
Do you find it difficult to concentrate when doing boring tasks? Ding. Have you watched your favourite film more than once? Ding. Do you hate Mondays?
You've got liver failure. So I was in the Abu Dhabi security search area, and I was so nervous about this bum search, by the way, because I thought of all the bum searches I could ever get, it'll be the most painful because it's an Abu Dhabi bum search. Because Abu Dhabi, as we know, terrible women's rights, terrible gay rights. They will have the worst lube in the world. Like, they won't have anal lube, that's for sure.
Just gays going, yeah, they wouldn't, and straight people going, what? You have your own lube? I'm gonna ask for that for my birthday.
Anal lube is amazing, by the way. Highly recommend it. It's so good, I'm convinced if I slathered my car with anal lube, I could park it in my cupboard. So and I'm there waiting for this bum search, just looking at one hand, and I'm thinking, no, just look at the hand, look at the hand. And they just patted me down. They didn't even lower my trousers, so I should have known there wasn't really going to be a bum search if they didn't lower my trousers. They just patted me all the way down, and when they patted me down, they said, please turn around, sir. And I turned around, and the Abu Dhabi security guard said,
right, that's the search over. Go into the office and sit down and don't say a word.
So I went to the office and I sat down and didn't say a word. And two security guards then came into the office and sat at the other side of a desk, and I'm at the other side on this kind of long couch thing, and they started typing stuff out on the computer. Right, I did say something at this point because I needed to know what was going on, and I went, what's happening here? Right, and the security guard looked at me and then went back to writing out what he was putting, and I'm thinking, fuck. I'm going to jail here. They can't even say it to me. This is going to be terrible. And I thought, well, I need to let people know that I'm here. Right? And I thought, I've got a few options here. Either I could text my boyfriend at the time. He might know a good lawyer. Or I could text Paul and he'll make me laugh. Or I could text my mum and dad and they'll get really stressed. So I text Paul because I thought, I just want to have a laugh. And that's the best option in order to have a laugh. So I text Paul and I said, hey man, I'm in Abu Dhabi airport at the moment. I've been detained by the police for smuggling drugs. And two security guards nearly went up my bum. Paul replied with, I hope you repaid the favour. And I said, I don't think I could handle two at once. And then Paul sent me a picture of, there's a bit in The Simpsons when Homer gets his hand stuck in two vending machines. So I'm looking at my phone and I'm laughing my head off. I must have looked like the most arrogant prisoner these security guards have ever seen me, just being like, yeah, whatever, yeah, 20, 30 years, whatever, this meme is worth it. And you probably know what the end of this story is, right? Because I'm obviously not in Abu Dhabi prison at the moment. They let me go, right? I hope none of you are sitting there going, oh, I wonder if he gets killed at the end. Apparently he goes to jail in Abu Dhabi for 40 years and he comes back and finishes the show later. But basically, what's it called? I had to sign a thing, right? But it was all in Arabic, so I didn't know what I was signing. But the security guards went, "Sir, if you sign that, you can leave." And I was like, "Leave? Love that word." And I signed my name, and he said, "Oh, so we need your fingerprints." I put my thumbprint down as well, and I gave them that. And I found out off people later of what I had signed was an admission of guilt. So basically, I've admitted to smuggling drugs into Abu Dhabi, and my punishment is I'm no longer allowed to smuggle drugs into Abu Dhabi. Their law system is very fair, to be honest. I don't think I'll be going back anytime soon. I'm going to go to Qatar or somewhere nicer like that. But the same thing happened to me after that story, right? Because I was freaking out at points, but I was brave enough, right? I wasn't completely freaked out. But then after that happened, weeks later, I started ruminating about it again, and I hated that story because I was thinking, oh God, what if that happens again? What if I get arrested? Or what, my life could be completely changed, or it'll be over? And I just started freaking out about it more, and I hated the story. Fucking despised it, and now my perception's changed again, right? Because I love the story. It's one of my favourites because last year my best good friend Paul died, and well, you know, it's a weird thing. If you ever have death close to you, the only control you get over it is you just try and remember absolutely everything, because you're like, I need all these memories so I'll never forget them. And that story doesn't feel like, oh, that was me scared in Abu Dhabi, I could have gone to jail for 30 years. It now just feels like, oh, there's another example of my best good friend Paul making me piss myself laughing despite the unlikely subject it was surrounding. And death's such a weird thing, right? Because obviously you try and control it a bit by remembering things, but everyone always says to you, they always go, oh, your perception changes when somebody dies. And it's like, it doesn't change about... It changes about things, but it doesn't change about them. Because like Paul's still my best good friend, and just because he's not going to see me do gigs on stage, we're not going to write jokes together anymore, it doesn't mean I'm not going to do the in-jokes, because I like doing the in-jokes, because it makes me go, he'd have found that funny, or he'd have liked that.
And it's funny, the amount of like looking through notes and stuff, and I found jokes that me and Paul wrote together, and like adding little things into the show, little in-jokes that he liked or he would have liked. And then I found that this show's made me a lot closer to Paul, and I'm finding that now it's kind of going to be over soon. I'm like, oh. It was funny enough, actually, the day he died, because I was on the phone to him organising what date I would come down, and I said, all right, what we'll do is we'll go for a walk together, basically to try and get him out of the house to get fit again, so he could get a good doctor's appointment. And then he said he would want to work on stuff because it was nice to feel useful again, because it'd been so long since he was able to work. And then I tried out a couple of jokes on him, and he what do you call it? He laughed, but looking back, probably just politely. Also, he lived in my flat, so there's plenty of reminders. He still left a bottle of fizzy water in the house that I've kept. I'm going to keep that bottle forever.
If you've got someone in your life, by the way, that gives you confidence, fucking hold on to them for dear life, because people that give you confidence are so rare. Such a rare trait, man. Like, I think a lot of people want to be good at it. I think we should all aspire to be good at giving other people confidence. But fucking hell, like, it's a rare thing. And the only thing you can ever do in return for that person that gives you that is try and make them proud. And I was so worried, by the way, right? I was so worried I'd let Paul down. I arrived at Paul's funeral with my suitcase in one hand, my tear-soaked travel pillow I got from that lovely old lady in the other. And just before the funeral started, Paul's brother said to me, "Are you still okay to do the eulogy?" I had no idea I was supposed to do the eulogy, right? And I was already feeling uncomfortable at this point because I hate people talking to me when I'm on the toilet. And I said to him, I said, I can't do it, right? Because it was the one time in my life I was actually feeling my feelings at the moment, right? Because joking aside, right, I couldn't obviously wank about what was happening. But also I couldn't do my usual thing. I couldn't joke about it because jokes felt really lonely without my best friend to laugh at them with me. So I said to his brother, I said, I'm so sorry, I can't do it. And I'm thinking, what would I have done if I had done the eulogy. I thought I probably would have talked about the time I was in Abu Dhabi and Paul managed to make me laugh despite that scenario I was in, or about how I nearly gave up comedy and Paul was the one who stopped me from doing it, and he did his amazing gift of giving someone else confidence. Or I would have told him about the time I was in the museum with Paul and we saw the big pile of shoes. And my perception was so dark, but Paul's was so typically Paul, of he managed to see something funny and something really lovely and beautiful. And that's if I had months to prepare it, by the way, not if I had 5 minutes. And thank you. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you, guys. I mean, that's if I had months to prepare the eulogy, right? 5 minutes notice, I think I would have gone on and done an in-joke and made everybody feel even more uncomfortable. Be like, oh, it's terrible, Paul died at such a young age. He never got to live out his dream of becoming a shrimp boat captain. Paul's funeral was genuinely the saddest but the funniest funeral I could ever imagine going to, right? Because Paul organised it himself, right? Because Paul knew he was dying, he had all the symptoms, he was watching his favourite film more than once, and hated Mondays as well, man. But when Paul's coffin was about to go into the cremation chamber, everyone's bawling their eyes out crying, right? But Paul got them to play Disco Inferno. So the whole room went from crying their eyes out to laughing their head off. And I'm sat there in one of the bleakest situations I've ever been in, listening to Disco Inferno. And I thought, isn't it weird how happy music can cover up a really sad situation? Thank you very much. Thank you. And that meant that me and Paul finally got to write a call forward together. Thank you so much. People do come up to me afterwards and they go, "Are you okay?" And the one thing I've learned this year more than anything is I've got to be the one that looks for the bouncy castle now. Folks, one more thing before I go, if that's all right. Thank you. Folks, you've been absolutely lovely, and I want to say that I'm Larry Dean, and that is Paul Byrne.
Give me your closed hands and we'll dip into the sand, forget the shit even began. Open your tight eyes and let down your cold disguise and give me my only advice. 'Cause the world's still twirling on, but the old songs are playing along. And when you hear my voice, you know you still have a choice.
Yeah, I loved it, man. It was so good. Because it was like, it was funny, sad, and like poignant and all that shit. And poignant and all that shit.
Oh, life's a funny thing. The way it dips and swings and marches in time to the tune. Oh, but I don't ever wanna be the mother's enemy and meet my demise way too soon. 'Cause you'd hear that you're gone sometimes before you know right from wrong. The only wisdom